Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Yider Insurance Group, Forward Corporation and T.R. McTaggart, Angler Quest Boats, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine show right here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network. Nice to have you along with us. You know, I'm not even going to ask you how your week was. I usually start out the show, how was your week? Did you have a good week? It's been an interesting week, hasn't it? It's been a challenging week. But you know what? There's still a lot of great things going on in the world. And when you talk about social distancing, keeping your distance from people, staying away from crowds, being by yourself, we, hunters and anglers, and shooters and trappers, we are the masters of social distancing. We have been doing this for years, and we've been doing this for generations. We were the social distancers before it was cool to be a social distancer, or distant ma'am. So we know how to do this. So I would encourage you, get out on the river, do some steelhead fishing. Of course, walleye season closed now on the river, so you're not going to be able to do that unless you're down on the Detroit or St. Clair River. Get out and look for some sheds. Do some preseason turkey scouting. That season coming up right around the corner. So there's still a lot of wonderful, a lot of nice things going on. And I would encourage you to try to find those opportunities right now and take advantage of them. Get outside. Enjoy some fresh air, some sunshine. Yeah, if it's cold, rainy, whatever, just embrace that experience. Because you will also be social distancing and socially responsible while keeping your body in a nice, clean environment and refreshing your mind. Letting your mind think about something else. One thing you should be thinking, oh, by the way, welcome to spring. Because by the time you hear this radio show, it will be spring, officially spring now. Many of us have known it's been, well, Mother Nature in my backyard has been known it's been spring for a long time. I'll talk about that in a minute. But one thing you do want to keep in mind here, April 1st, it's time to get your new Michigan hunting and fishing licenses. You can do it online. You can do it in person. I bought the combo license, which is my deer combo, 2 deer tags, and I know I will never fill 2 deer tags. I will likely not even fill 1 deer tag, but I'm okay with that. I know that those license dollars go to a good cause. They go for conservation, so I'm willing to buy those tags, knowing I probably will not fill both of those tags. I also got my base license, my small game license, and I got my all-species fishing license for $76. It only cost me $76 to get all the hunting and fishing licenses, well, outside of my turkey tag, which is just a few bucks, that I'm going to need for the entire year. If you are one of those people who gripes about the price of our licenses, don't talk to me, because I'm not going to go along with it. I'm not going to buy into it. In my opinion, there is not a better deal out there than our Michigan hunting and fishing licenses. Again, I can hunt or fish every day of the year for $76. Now, back before the movie theaters were closed, I could easily spend that and more for an afternoon at the movies with my grandkids for 3 hours of entertainment. I can hunt or fish the entire year for $76. I just think that is a wonderful, wonderful value. I did not get my turkey tag, though, and I walked out of it. When I got home, I thought, I should have bought my tag for ZZ. And then somebody reminded me here online as I was doing a Facebook Live in the radio studio before the show started that you can't buy those tags until I think it was the 31st. So it's coming right up. But I will get a tag ZZ. There was a major milestone in my life this week, something I've been waiting for almost a year. I got my paperwork submitted to the Coast Guard for my charter captain's license. What an ordeal that is. And at first it was making me a little bit frustrated. It's like, why do they make us jump through so many hoops? Why do they make this so hard? Well, there's a reason for it. If you're going to license somebody to take people on the water for hire, you know what? They should be vetted. They should be trained. They should be qualified to do so. But here is the checklist that I had to do before I handed my paperwork in. I actually emailed it in to make sure it would get there. You've got to get your TWIC card, which is a transportation workers card. So you got to go through that process. You have to complete the application, obviously. You have to have a physical, and it's a fairly comprehensive physical. I was quite surprised how comprehensive it was. You have to have a drug test, obviously, makes complete sense. You have to fill out a sea service form. The sea service form, you have to document that you've had 360 days on the water. Well, that's pretty easy, right? 90 days in the last 3 years. You have to document that. You have to have 3 character references, which in my case was hard. I had a hard time finding 3 people who would sign for my character. You have to have a notarized copy of the Merchant Mariner Oath saying that basically you will do everything you can to protect the people that are out there with you on the water. You've got to take a first aid class, which is first aid and CPR. Obviously, again, it makes a lot of sense. So you have to send them copies of that documentation, a copy of your driver's license, and then copies of the certificate of completion. In my case, my 100-ton master's license and my towing endorsement. Now, that I got through Captain Mel Stackpool and Great Lakes Charter Training. I did that last May. And finally, you have to either enclose a check for $145, or if you're doing it electronically like I did, give them documentation that you paid that $145 online. It took a while to get all that stuff together. And I did drag my feet. I admit that. I did drag my feet until I got to the point where I had to get it done. But the point is, it feels so good to have that off my back, to take that off my to-do list. And now it's in the hands of the Coast Guard. I did email it down there with everything going on. I didn't want to take a chance on mailing it or even FedExing it. I emailed it down there. It's in their hands now. Now the big question is, will I get it returned to me because I did something incorrectly or forgot to fill something in? Because that happens quite often. One thing that Captain Mel and his captains who work for him do, and I had John Littlefield, I called up John Littlefield the other day, and we went through all of my paperwork, not point by point, but document by document, and he told me the things to look out for to make sure that this was filled out in the right way. So I am cautiously optimistic that my paperwork will be accepted in the form that I submitted it. Now, how long will this process take with everything that's going on? I just don't know. But that's done. Now it's in somebody else's hands, so that's all. I've done all I can do. I talked to you about springtime and Mother Nature knowing that it's been springtime in my neck of the woods. Now, granted, I don't live in the UP, so I live in the central part of the Lower Peninsula. The geese are back on the pond behind the house. I don't mind a few geese on the pond behind the house. In fact, I enjoy it. I love to see them out there. I love to see them swimming. I love to see them flying over. I even love the sound that they make, and sometimes this time of year they get pretty vocal. What I don't like is when they decide that they don't have to stay just in the pond, but they can come up on my yard and my neighbor's yards, and you know what a mess that makes. And I live just inside the city limit. So there are limited things. I have a limited course of action that I can take to solve the situation. Last year it got so bad that we ended, just running out in the yard, chasing them out. That didn't do it. Throwing firecrackers at them. They got used to that. So eventually we put up a goose barricade. I put up basically a snow fence, and that finally kept them out. You can say, well, they can fly over that. Yeah, they can, but they didn't. So I've been talking to my little neighbor boyfriend, Austin, and I think probably here in the next few days it's going to be time to put up the goose barricade. a little earlier than last year, but you got to do what you can do. Events across the state. Everything's been canceled. The Outdoor Life Field and Stream Expo last weekend was canceled. The show in Gaylord was canceled. The big show in Grand Rapids this weekend is canceled. There was a show in Port Huron with WPHM. That's been canceled. So if you've got an event coming up, keep an eye on that. Speaking of events coming up, Walleye for Warriors on Saginaw Bay, June 13th and 14th. This point is still on. If you want to sign up, not as a veteran, but as a boat captain, now is the time to do that. Go to the website Walleyes for Warriors and realize there is no such word as walleyes, but the website is Walleyes for Warriors. And sign up for that. I have already done that. I'm looking forward to that event. I hope it does continue. Coming up on this week's show, we're talking steelhead fishing with Travis Bohy, but steelhead fishing from the bank and wading, not from a boat. Tom Campbell of Woods-n-Waternews. In hour number 2, we're talking food plots with Nick Percy of Killer Food Plots. Our friends from MUCC will check in. And then our Ask Avery segment this week talking about the see-through blinds. I have some experience with those. In our third hour, Tom Lounsbury shooting the breeze about all things outdoors. And we'll wrap it up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dave Miner. That's all coming up this week on Outdoor Magazine. Don't forget to check out the website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. And if you want to get in touch with me, you can send me an email, Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. We'll take a break and we'll get ready to slide through this week's Outdoor Magazine show after this, right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Sandusky on WMIC. That's 660 AM. You can hear us in St. Joe on WSJM 94.9 FM. And north of the bridge in the Sioux on ESPN 1400 WKNW. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by MUCC's On the Ground program. OTG is a program to improve habitat for fish and wildlife across the state. For details, check out the Michigan United Conservation Club's website, MUCC.org. That's MUCC.org. And by the way, while you're on that website, if you would like to join MUCC, and I am a member, and I would encourage you to take a look at it, you can save 25% on your membership by using the promo code MIKE, M-I-K-E, to save 25% on your MUCC membership. All right, well, we're all supposed to be social distancing, right? We're supposed to keep our distance from other people. Which, is there any better way to do that than maybe standing in the river, chasing some steelhead? Standing on the bank of the river or out in the water with some waders on? That's the way I started steelhead fishing. You know, later on when I got into it, I spent more time in a drift boat, but really, bank fishing, shore fishing, wading, that's the basic, man. You're right there in the water with the fish. Travis Bohy is an avid angler, an avid steelhead angler. He just happens to be the manager of the fishing department at Jay's Sporting Goods in Clare as well. And he's along with us to talk about this springtime tradition. Travis, welcome to the show. How are you?
Oh, I'm not doing too bad, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing real good. You have actually been out on the river a little bit lately too, haven't you?
Yes, sir, I have. I have been out. It would have been, I think, Monday. A buddy of mine that works at the store with me and I went out and had a pretty entertaining day.
Well, what does entertaining day mean, Travis?
Entertaining day is a day away from all the social stresses and this coronavirus scare and work and everything, and just get out in the middle of nowhere and just kind of get one-on-one with nature, I guess. Mike's the best way I can explain it. We hooked into a pretty good handful of fish. It was some pretty good-sized ones, gorgeous fish. Had a really good time. Good camaraderie, no social stress.
Well, and when you talk about a day like that, the fish are just a bonus.
The fish are a bonus, indeed. And when I first started steelhead fishing, it didn't quite occur to me that was a deal. But anymore, if I can't go with somebody that I really want to, hang out with for the day, I mean, you can go by yourself, have a lot of fun. But the camaraderie of the trip, regardless of what you catch, ends up being a lot of fun. But the fish were definitely playing ball Monday.
Well, and I got to believe we're right at the beginning of the best time of the year to catch these river steelhead. I mean, we're coming into it right now.
Yeah, we are. And this is the most popular time to fish. It's a little bit warmer out for the guys. There's a lot of fish around. There's fish that have probably fit. There's probably a few that have finished spawning. A lot of them are just getting ready to. You got new fish that are coming in that probably won't spawn for another couple of weeks yet. So you've kind of got fish in all different phases of that. And a guy could fish them all winter if he wanted to, but the really big pushes are starting to come in now, and now's kind of the time a lot of folks really start to get out, and cabin fever's itching at them, and they want to get after them.
And you don't need a boat. You don't need a lot of expensive gear. Now, I get it. Like everything else, we tend to get carried away, and we can put a lot of money into it, but you can get by fishing from the bank and just have a riot.
Honestly, you can, Mike, and a lot of the times when you talk about fishing different times of the year, like I mentioned, fishing in the wintertime, a lot of guys fish in the winter in a boat because usually there's a lot of snow and they can't really wade that good and whatnot. And you can still catch them from the bank, but your odds and the numbers that you're going to catch per day aren't quite as high. But when you start talking about springtime, a lot of your snow is melted off by now, and it's a lot easier to get in the spot. There's more fish around, and they're a lot closer to gravel, so a lot of guys wade. If a guy can get a set of waders, I mean, some guys, sometimes you probably wouldn't even need more than a set of hip boots and a rod, and you're going. So it's a lot cheaper than a guy having to buy a boat and the whole rig up to go.
So what are we looking for in a steelhead rod? Probably for most people, a spinning rod would work the best, wouldn't it?
Yeah, for most folks, they're pretty familiar with a spinning reel and how that works. And you can get into a pretty decent spinning reel for probably $20-$30. It could withstand the steelhead. You get into a rod, you're going to want something probably on the shortest, probably about 8 feet, if not longer. A lot of guys prefer longer rods. I usually fish a center pin rod that's about 13 feet long. Yeah, just a basic spinning rod, 8-9 foot, would get most guys out there. He's ample enough for them to catch one.
That center pin is more of an advanced tactic, more of an advanced way of doing it, isn't it, or not necessarily?
It is basically a fancy word for bobber fishing with a big reel that looks like a fly reel that just kind of free flows at the same speed as the current. A lot of guys are getting into that now. It's kind of a trendy type of deal. But a guy can do the same type of deal with a spinning rod, and they have been for a number of years. It's kind of the same concept, but just a little bit different application. Like I said, most folks get a little bit more familiar with that spinning reel. If a guy's never tried it, he's never been steelhead fishing, spinning reel will probably be a little bit easier for him.
Travis, these steelhead rivers, for the most part, a lot of them are bigger rivers. There's a lot of water. How does a person just getting started in this, how do you know where to go? Because not every place is going to hold good numbers of fish, not the entire river.
I'll tell you where I would start, and it took me a few years to figure this out when I was kind of learning the ropes and whatnot. But I walked a lot of streams, figuring that it's going to be a lot like trout fishing, and that I just need to go ahead and try to, find a log firm to hide in or or whatever. And for the most part, they'll hide in those spots. But this time of the year, it's the reason that they came up all those rivers is to spawn. So, and a lot of the times, their spawning habitat, when you start to see them spawning and see them up there, you'll find that gravelly spots and spots with a lot of rock and sand are going to be far more superior for them than, say, a hole that's all sand and mud. And as you start to walk the banks of the rivers and you start to find these spots that are real rocky looking and kind of have some rapids and stuff like that, that's a lot of stuff you're looking for through the months March, April, and sometimes even May.
So can you actually see the fish? I mean, are you looking for fish in these shallower runs?
You definitely can see them when they get up on the gravel and they start spawning. But most of what I do is trying to fish the holes just above, just below, anywhere around the gravel. I mean, they'll still sit in the deep holes up against the log jam or whichever. But it's for somebody that's never done it. You literally, if you're there when it's quite warm enough and whatnot, you can walk down the bank and literally look out and go, oh, yep, there's 3-4 of them right there.
I'm sorry, I got distracted here for a second. I just got a text, which I should have my phone off during the show, so I do apologize for that. The fish that are in there right now, too, I mean, this is a great time of year because these fish are coming in and they're good fighters. They're full of life. They're ready to go.
Oh, yeah, they're quite a bit different than a lot of people kind of relate steelhead and salmon, and a lot of folks that don't fish them a lot, they might get them confused and whatnot, but a lot of your salmon come in the fall and whatnot, and they'll spawn, and most of them die. There's not much of the whole, turn around and fight back out to the lake type thing. The steelhead are quite a bit different in that regard. They're a lot more apt to want to play ball and to take your offerings. You drift past them, and after spawning, they do what's called dropping back, and they'll start getting more color back up, and they'll kind of start to turn silver again, and they'll turn back and head to the lake. And they might do that 3, 4, 5 times in a lifetime after they survive that long. So quite a bit different than a salmon. So, yeah, there's plenty of life in them.
And I do want to go back to my previous point. I finally remembered it, talking about if you can see those fish. There's also the school of thought, if you can see those fish in that shallow water, they can see you too probably, huh?
For the most part, that is correct. So a guy wants to try to stay kind of low and stay out of their sight as much as possible, and you want to avoid wearing bright-colored clothing. Same if you're going to be brook trout fishing. Same type of concept.
When the camouflage companies first came out with camouflage for anglers, I thought it was just another marketing ploy, but it does make some sense, doesn't it?
Yes, it definitely does. If you were hanging out in your living room, or say you got a wife or girlfriend and you're kind of hanging out and having a date or whatever, and all of a sudden some bright-colored object starts swarming around above you, it's kind of going to make you pretty nervous. So something a little bit more camouflage, make them fish feel a little more secure and a little bit more willing to take what you're throwing at them.
All right, so you've found a spot that you want to fish. You've set us up in the right rod and reel. What are we using for bait? What are those steelhead in the rivers hitting this time of year?
Most of what they're going to do, because the steelhead is basically a giant rainbow trout, it will eat just about any kind of bug type offering, any type of nymph, wiggler. So there's a lot of guys that run flies for them. That might be a stonefly pattern, or a caddisfly, or a mayfly larva pattern, which most folks in the Great Lakes region commonly call a wiggler. On that same note, a guy can run live bait. You can run jigs as tips with waxworms. You can run a wiggler on a hook, which is very deadly as you get into a little bit warmer months here. Spawn bags work really good. They eat eggs readily. A lot of guys in the past probably 5 to 10 years have been really big on running bead, where you'll have a bead pegged up on your line and then a hook, say, 1.5 to 2 inches below it. They'll take all those offerings quite readily. And there's actually some guys that fish them with spinners and body baits as well.
If you're using, obviously if you're using spawn, you've got some scent on there already. If you're using an artificial like a spinner or just a bead and a hook, do you put any scent on there at all, or does that not really matter?
There are some guys that are very hardcore believers in running scent on them, and a lot of the scents from the company ProCure they make like a gel type of scent that stays on the bait for quite a while, and it's very popular out west, guys fishing plugs and stuff, especially for salmon. They do it for steelhead as well. But as far as spinners, there's some guys that put, especially the dress spinners that have the feathers and whatnot on the back of them, that gel will stick into that and last for multiple casts without wearing out. And, there's quite a few guys that do that as well. Then there's plenty of guys that catch them without. So sometimes they'll just come up and swat at them without any scent at all.
And what's the hit going to be like? I mean, when I've steelhead fished in the past, that was my problem. Bouncing spawn bags along the bottom. It was so subtle. I never really got a good handle on it. That was my problem.
Oh, yeah. When I first started, I did the same thing. I started with a spinning rod and bouncing spawn bags, and I'd go to the store and buy spawn, and you'd get bit occasionally on it. Nowadays, the spawn that I run is spawn that I've cured myself out of fish that I've caught, and it gets bit pretty good. But regardless, whether you're bouncing flies or bouncing spawn, 9 times out of 10, if you're bottom bouncing across through there, whether it's a hole or across the gravel bed, you want to get to where you're feeling the bottom, feeling your weight bouncing the bottom. You usually have a couple split shot on. I like to have it for my shot slide up and down. It's a little bit more sensitive for me. But you want to be drifting across and every now and then taking the bottom. If you're taking it too much, too fast, it'll hang up on the bottom. And the goal is to try to get that to go as close to the same speed as the current as possible. So if you can do that, when a fish grabs that offering, whether it's a fly or a spawn bag or whichever, it just kind of feels kind of awkward, like it's hung on something in there, but it's not necessarily heavy. And it takes a little while to get that feel, and occasionally they'll just grab it and pull, turn the other way, and when they do, you'll feel an initial pull. You'll go, "Yep, that's a fish."
Yeah, well, and that is the art form. Travis got to take a break, but that is the art form, knowing when that is a fish and when it's bottom. We're talking with Travis Bohy about springtime steelhead fishing in the rivers, wading, and bank fishing. He's at Jay's Sporting Goods, by the way. If you want to learn more about Jay's, check out the website, jaysportinggoods.com. That's jaysportinggoods.com. We'll take a break. More with Travis coming up right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Battle Creek on WBCK. That's 95.3 FM. You can hear us in Lansing on WILS, 1320 AM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Ishpeming on WIAN. That's 1240 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Boning Archery. Michigan-based Boning has been a leader in the archery industry since... I think the mid-40s. In fact, I think they're coming up on 75 years. I think next year is the 75th anniversary of Boning Archery, a company founded by Roland Boning. He invented ferrule tight to glue broadheads to, at the time, what were wooden arrows. These days, Boning continues to innovate, come up with new products. They make everything for bows and arrows, basically, except for bows and arrows. Really a fine Michigan-based company. And for a company that could be around, 75 years, that is very, very impressive. They do a wonderful job. And by the way, you can their website, boning.com, BOHNING.com, boning.com. And you can get Boning products at Jay's Sporting Goods, by the way. And I bring up Jay's because we're talking with Travis Bohy, who is the manager of the fishing department of Jay's store in Clare. But right now, more importantly, he's a hardcore steelhead angler. Travis, so what is the basic technique? You found the water you want. You know what bait you're going to use. How do you approach that water? How do you get that bait, whatever it is, in front of that fish now?
Well, it depends. If I'm running spawn or bead, 9 times out of 10, if I can't see the fish, Mike, and I know I'm around a spot that I believe has them, I'm going to run through the deep holes and up against the log jams and stuff. Preferably, I'm looking for water might be between, say, 5 and 7 feet. If I can find that, I'm in good shape. And I'm usually going to run a bobber. I'm going to run the float setup with a spawn bag or a bead below it, and sometimes both. And I'll run them through there, and I'll wait for something to pull that bobber down. If I'm running a spinner or something of that nature, I'll throw it into the hole, spin it back, usually quartering downstream into that hole, and hope that I can get one to react to it and jump out and chomp it. If I've found them up in their near gravel, on gravel, something of that nature, the bottom bouncing technique works really good for me, and I'll throw it through there and try to bounce at the same speed as the current, trying to keep the same concept as that bobber, going the same speed as the current. That's the big key.
So you're standing on the bank or in the water with waders. You're casting what? Out into the river, slightly upstream. They call it quarter casting, and just kind of let it bounce down at the same speed of the water if you can.
Yep. Most of the time, my bottom bounce, Mike, I found it more beneficial for me to be casting straight across or almost quartering downstream.
Really?
It is better to cast upstream. Yep. With a spinning rod, if I'm casting a bobber and I'm trying to bobber fish, a lot of guys like to stand in the stream and cast quartering up. And then as the float comes kind of back towards them, they'll reel up a bit and then start swinging their line upstream, called a mend. And they'll keep mending and bending as that float goes downstream through. And the big purpose of that mend is to try to keep the bow out of the line. But, if a guy's bottom bouncing, I found it more beneficial usually to cast straight across or even down a little bit. And that keeps my speed more closer to what I'm trying to get.
Well, see, that's probably what I was doing wrong all those years. So I finally learned something there. And you talked about spawn before the break. This is an interesting topic. I mean, everybody's got their own idea of how to cure or take care of spawn.
Yep.
And for people who don't know, the spawn is the eggs that you pull out of a fish. So you're using a natural bait, but that doesn't last very long. You can use it right away, but you've got to preserve it in some way. We call it curing. How do you do that, Travis?
Well, there's a couple different ways to do that. There are production cures, such as ProCure, and the company Potski's makes some really good cures, and most of them are either a sulfite-based cure or a borax-based cure. They also make brining agents in which you can fix it up in a pot and almost bring it to a boil and then let the eggs soak in that to get a similar effect. But more commonly, if somebody didn't want to buy that, they wanted to try it on their own, you can use salts, sugars, borax. There's multiple things you can get at your local grocery store, actually, to cure eggs. And there's plenty of recipes online on kind of how to do that. And I've got a top secret one, but
but you can't tell me.
That's right.
And then how do you tie them up in a spawn bag then?
Yep. When you're steelhead fishing, most of the time your offerings are a little bit smaller than if you were salmon fishing, for example. So a lot of guys are tying them in spawn netting, spawn bag netting. We sell it in multiple different sizes, different colors, and you'll tie them anywhere from bags, about the size of a marble, all the way on up to bags. I tie them almost as big as a golf ball sometimes. Depends on the water conditions. But, usually bags are the best option. Now, if a guy was salmon fishing, for example, he might take a chunk of skein, so it's all the eggs in the membrane, and just loop that onto his hook in a big gob. And those are usually a little bit bigger. Those are golf ball size or bigger, usually call it those guys.
And this steelhead fishing in the rivers right now is just taking off, just getting ready to be on fire. How late in the spring will you stay out there, Travis?
Well, Mike, a lot of them start spawning right about now. They'll start going pretty hard, and they'll go until probably mid to late April, really. And as you start getting towards the tail end of April, and a lot of the streams that I fish, the northwest side of the state usually tends to go a little bit earlier. And then when you get to the northeast side of the state, you start fishing the Lower Osable and East Branch, the Out Gray, the Rifle, and all those. Those, for some reason, tend to be a little bit later, I found. I've had a little bit better success there towards the end of April, first part of May. But even on the northwestern rivers, when you get towards the end of April, you start running into a lot of what they call the drop-back fish. And that's the fish after they've spawned that are starting to recover a little bit of energy and starting to feed real heavily. And they usually group up. And when you get into a hole that's got those in it, they are full of energy more so than anything you've seen the whole year.
Well, Travis, it's obvious you know this subject inside and out. I appreciate you sharing it with us. I would encourage people to stop by Jay's and see you in the fishing department. Say, hey, Travis, I heard you on the radio show. How cool is that? Travis, good fishing. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Mike.
Travis Bohy of Jay's Sporting Goods. Again, the website, jaysportinggoods.com, jaysportinggoods.com. We'll take a break. When we come back, talk to Tom Campbell of Woods-n-Waternews right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Alpena on WZTK. That's 105.7 FM. You can hear us in Port Huron on WPHM 1380 AM. And north of the bridge in Marquette, WDMJ 1320 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Speedy Blaze. Speedy Blaze is a safe, clean, water-resistant alternative to firewood. And it's safe to cook over because it's actually made with real wood. I just started working with this company a couple of months ago, and I've been very, very impressed. Great people behind the company and a great product. Also, they have partnered with Solo Stove. Check these guys out online, Solo Stove. And each month, Speedy Blaze is giving away a Solo Stove in cooperation and combination with some Speedy Blaze products as well. Check them out. They were with us, by the way, at our Wednesday Night Live in West Branch about a month ago. Really an interesting company, an interesting product. I don't expect I'm going to use any firewood at all this summer. I'm going to be using just Speedy Blaze, and I would encourage you to check them out. The website, speedyblaze.com, speedyblaze.com. While you're online, of course, MikeAveryOutdoors.com, my website, and woods-n-waternews.com. You know what website that is. The website for Michigan's premier outdoor publication, Woods-n-Waternews, and Tom Campbell with us once again. Tom, welcome back.
Hey, thanks, Mike. I appreciate it.
Oh, nice to have you along with us. Listen, you got some time back in your schedule. You're not going to be in Grand Rapids this weekend.
That's exactly right. Yeah, it's so unfortunate. It's so concerning what's going on in the world. I really feel sorry for all those the shows I can't cancel and all the numerous wild game dinners and clubs and organizations that had fundraising planned for the month of March. It's always a big day, a big month for those groups, and I just feel so horrible for all of them. And on top of that, just the concerns for the health of the world, I guess. So yeah, it certainly is a crazy, concerning time. That's for sure.
It is, but boy, when you talk about social distancing, we hunters and anglers and shooters and trappers, we know how to social distance.
We do, don't we? So don't fish in my hole, that's for sure. You stay away. Absolutely. Oh, yeah. I think absolutely right. And looking forward to, we do have a turkey season coming up, and pretty much other than, taking a friend or something, it's usually pretty much a solo outing. So, that's a great, obviously, us outdoors people know how to do that. In fact, I was telling my wife the other day, I've taken so many walks out in the backwoods that I think every deer knows me by now. I think we got them all named as I walk around.
but there's still work to be done. You're still working on the next edition, I'm sure.
Absolutely. In fact, Mike, our April issue is out on the newsstand right now as we speak, and it's really an eye-catching cover. We're really excited about it. We got a couple Michigan Eagles on the cover, actually fighting over a little a roadkill, and we've got several more eagle shots inside, and they're just outstanding. And we're so excited. Patrick Bever did the piece on us, and it's really eye-catching, and it's a neat one because it's also an immature female that's taken advantage of an adult male eagle, and actually win in the battle. So it's quite unique, and it should be very entertaining for everybody. And
it certainly will. Eagles, the resurgence, the return of eagles, in my opinion, one of the greatest conservation success stories of recent time, and we've got them everywhere now, and it's wonderful to see them. So I'm glad to see you focus on something like that, because we also too often we think of Woods-n-Waternews as hardcore hook and bullet, but it's really, you're a lot more than that, aren't you?
Yeah, we sure are. In fact, as I laid out the April issue, I realized that we really have a lot of birding issues on this one. We also got a nice piece on red-tailed hawks, that we've all grown up with red-tailed hawks, and on top of that, the DNR did a piece on their MI Michigan birds that they're pushing, and we've got a piece on that too. So there's a lot of birding in this issue, and it just happened to be that way for the April issue. But yeah, it's exactly right. We try to do the whole gamut. I mean, obviously we've got everything in there about spring fishing that you would want, and spring turkey hunting, of course, but then we subsidize and stretch out and try to find interesting things like the red-tailed hawk, like the eagles, and we want all our outdoor enthusiasts to be well-rounded. So, and that's our philosophy. We've kind of done that for almost 35 years, and I think we'll keep doing that as long as we can. So.
Well, you're doing a great job. I mean, you've been around long enough. Obviously, you're doing something right. And in a time when print publications are really struggling, you guys are still out there, and it says a lot for you, Tom.
Yeah, well, we appreciate that, Mike, and with your help, that surely helps. That's for sure. Absolutely, being able to talk to you on Saturdays and Sundays. I can't tell you how many people I meet now at shows, and as soon as I say, "Oh, hello," they go, "Oh, hey, you're Tom Campbell." And
that's nice.
Oh,
that's
I hear
nice.
you, Mike Avery, and I go, "Oh, that's fantastic." So you're doing a great job keeping that word out and keeping the outdoorsman in the news too, Mike. So we appreciate that as well.
Well, we gotta look for good news wherever we can find it, and the outdoors is a great place for that. Tom Campbell, appreciate your time. We'll check in again in a couple of weeks.
All right, thanks, Mike.
Tom Campbell of Woods-n-Waternews, the website woods-n-waternews.com. Really, I think Michigan's premier outdoor publication. These guys have been doing that for a long time, and they're very, very good at it. We'll take a break for the top of the hour. When we come back, we're going to talk food plots. It's that time of year, and Nick Percy of Killer Food Plots knows this topic better than anybody I know. And then later in the hour, the folks from MUCC will be joining us. That's coming up in hour number 2 after the top of the hour right here on Outdoor Magazine.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Yider Insurance Group, Forward Corporation and T.R. McTaggart, Angler Quest Boats, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and I appreciate that. Welcome to hour number 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine show right here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network. 29 AM and FM stations across the great state of Michigan, and the podcast available literally anywhere in the world. But this is a radio show, first and foremost. It is recorded, produced, designed, and broadcast as a radio show. And I think that the best way to listen, if you can, is on your local AM or FM station, because there you can get your, not only the show, but your local news and weather and sports and even your local ads. Maybe there's something you want to take advantage of. So that's the way I think, in my opinion, the best way to listen. However, if you can't, if your local station doesn't carry all 3 hours of the show, or if you live in some part of our state not covered by the broadcast footprint, the signal, you can't get it on your local radio station, it's nice to know that you can always hear the show as a podcast. Podcasting is a very hot term these days. You hear a lot about it. I think podcasts are great. They allow people who wouldn't have access to, say, radio, the radio airwaves. You can podcast and get your word out there, get your message out there. So I'm a big fan of podcasting and have been doing it for many years. But the podcast version of the Outdoor Magazine radio show is made available several places, including the website MikeAveryOutdoors.com. MikeAveryOutdoors.com, kind of the clearinghouse for all things Outdoor Magazine and Mike Avery Outdoors. So check that out. First, if you're on Facebook, I put the show up on the Mike Avery Outdoors Facebook page every week. I put it up Sunday afternoon about 6 o'clock. You can listen to it there. It's also on Twitter. I'm not a huge fan of Twitter, but the show is out there on Twitter if you want to listen to it there. I put it on LinkedIn as well, the business social networking platform. iTunes, of course. Google Play, of course. And our mobile app. We have a mobile app. You can download it free from the iTunes Store or Google Play. We're also on iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, radio.com. And just about any place else you'd want to get your podcasts from, you can hear the podcast version of the Outdoor Magazine radio show. Speaking of podcasts, we also have an Outdoor Magazine podcast network. And on that network, I do monthly podcasts for a lot of different companies, including Killer Food Plots. Now, by the time you hear this radio show, there will be a new version of the Killer Food Plots podcast out there as well. You can hear that at killerfoodplots.com and at MikeAveryOutdoors.com as well. Speaking of Killer Food Plots, let's get right to it. Nick Percy of Michigan-based Killer Food Plots knows that subject inside and out. Nick, welcome back. How are you?
Thanks, Mike. I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing just fine. And listen, it's a busy time of year for you now, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. It's definitely go time. Good time to be outdoors, not trapped in buildings somewhere, apparently. So good time to get ready, get things ready, and start pulling soil samples where you can.
Well, we talk about social distancing out there in the food plot, a good way to social distance.
Absolutely.
I don't think, though, Nick, knowing you for a while now, it never really slows down for you, does it?
No, it doesn't. You know, they canceled several of our shows here last week in Lansing. This weekend we were supposed to be going to Ohio, and then in 3 weeks another 2 weeks we were supposed to be going to Wisconsin, and all those shows have been postponed or pretty much will be canceled, I assume, until next year. So that slowed us down a little bit, but, you know, I've got some new news. We just purchased Agard's Farm and Garden store in Muskegon, so we're going to have a new brick and mortar and new home for Killer Food Plots, a retail location that people can get their Killer Food Plots as well as all their Groganics fertilizers and organic AquaShield pond treatments and things, and come and see us there. So that takes place probably in another 30 days. We'll close. And
wait,
so
what?
exciting.
Why am I just hearing about this now?
Well, just because it just happened as of Friday. So.
Well, good for you. Congratulations.
Yeah.
This is a big move, Nick.
Oh, it's huge. We need a new home. We've been in a warehouse in Coopersville, thanks to my good friend Jim, who has provided that space for us for many years as we grew our company. And there's some growth going on in that facility for him and the other businesses that share that space. So it was time for us to find a new home, something we could grow into. And, I'm going back to my roots of Muskegon, where I grew up until about 6th grade. And there's a lot of growth going on in Muskegon. We're 2 blocks from Fisherman's Landing, right on Muskegon Lake, which is a great place to fish.
Yeah.
There's currently really no bait or minnows or any other opportunities for fishermen down there to get what they need. So we're hoping to maybe add that to the mix for Agard's, and we're going to resurrect this 75-year-old business and make it a unique place to stop in and to learn and to educate and do seminars. And yeah, we're excited about it.
Oh, that's wonderful, Nick. I'm happy for you. Does this now mean, though, that your products won't be available at other retailers like, say, Jay's Sporting Goods? Are they still going to carry this stuff?
Oh, yeah. They'll be available at Jay's and several different retailers throughout the state of Michigan and beyond. So.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. So you do have a lot going on right now.
Yeah, it's just, God moves mountains out of the way so things can happen. And then, he puts me back to task. So there's no moss growing under my feet this month either. So,
well, and you've got an interesting situation, because even if you didn't go out of state, and you do, but I think of primarily as a Michigan-based company, here in our state, we're dealing with 2 different seasons. In the northern part of the state, it's still winter. In the southern part of the state, it's springtime now, and you have to figure out how to make that all work.
Yes, it's definitely interesting. I think people are rightfully so itching to get out and get started and get working ground and doing those type of things. They want to frost seed, but we do live in the wonderful land of Michigan, and it could be 6 inches, 10 inches of snow between now and next month. So hold on. It seems like spring is here. I'm trying to trust that, but I don't know. Mother Nature does what she does.
So are you frost seeding right now, or is it already too late in the southern part of the state?
No, we're still frost seeding right now and getting stuff ready. There's the conditions are still good for that, and I feel like people can start to do that about middle of the state. In another week, I'd say they could start up north. I know there's still some snow up north, but there's also snow south of us in Ohio. As of last weekend, they had a few inches of snow come through. So, like I said, I don't know that Mother Nature's done with us on the snow front.
Can you frost seed right on the snow?
Yes, you can. Absolutely.
Well, let's talk more about this process then, because to me, it seems like one of the easiest ways to get into food plotting is frost seeding.
It definitely is. And if you've had a previous food plot area where you've maybe planted some turnips or rape or radishes or another KFT, Carnage Brassicas blend, or some kind of fall blend, that's a perfect, ideal place to broadcast some Resurrection clover or our cold play mix, which are combinations of clovers or clovers and alfalfa and a little bit of spring triticale. And that will be a huge draw for your spring turkey hunting. So that should be able to get established and start producing some green growth and vegetation, which will surely pull in those turkeys and give you some greater success in spring turkey season. And
as long as there's still frost in the ground, you can frost seed. Is that correct?
Yes, you can frost seed. That's correct. And there has to be frost still in the ground most places. I mean, we had a fairly cold year, and it's been warming up here, but it's not been sustaining long-term warm temperatures to draw that frost completely out of the ground yet. And
you can just walk out and broadcast that by hand if you want to go to the most basic method. I mean, it's I don't want to say it's a no-brainer, but it sure is an easy way to go.
It is. Surely you can. It's always better if you have some type of a little hand seeder, but you can throw it up in the air and then let it settle down and then move up a little bit and do the same thing. It's definitely not the most economic or easiest or most efficient and even way to do it, but it definitely will work.
Eventually, even if you frost seed, though, you're going to want to get a little bit more involved. I mean, if you do frost seeding right now, it's just a way to get something going. You're going to want to come back and do a soil test and probably put some more nutrients in that area, I would imagine, Nick.
Yes, you will. Once your plot is up and growing, usually 2 to 3 inches or so, maybe 2 inches would be sufficient. You definitely will want to add some Groganics fertilizer to that. We have our new Groganics Gen 2 fertilizer, which we're really excited about. And then we have, of course, our Generation 1, which are solid, complete, 100% nutrient feeding fertilizers versus synthetic fertilizers, which contain about 40% of the bag is limestone, which doesn't do anything to grow your food plot, and about 10% of that is salt, which also kills the microbial activity in the soil. So we encourage people to use our Groganics, either Gen 1, which you can buy at Jay's Sporting Goods and Northwoods Wholesale and several of our dealers, and or our new Generation 2, which will be coming to some of those dealers soon. And those are also available on our website with free shipping. So that will allow people to be able to feed those food plots and keep things going. If you seed now, a lot of times you'll get ahead of the grass and weeds in the fields, which is ideal. If you do not have a previously planted location and you frost seed, you may have to come back and combat with a specific grass killer, for instance, that will just kill the grass but not kill your clovers and other perennials.
Hang tight, Nick. We got to take a break here on the Outdoor Magazine Show. We're talking with Nick Percy of Michigan-based Killer Food Plots, the website killerfoodplots.com, killerfoodplots.com. Well, a lot of people looking at food plotting these days, and I highly recommend Nick Percy and the crew at Killer Food Plots. Again, the website killerfoodplots.com. We'll take a break. Lots more coming up after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in Sheboygan on Big Country Gold, WCBY, AM and FM, 1240 AM, 100.7 FM. You can hear us in Mount Pleasant on WMMI, AM and FM. That's 830 AM, 92.3 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Newberry on WNBY, 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Reader Landscaping. Reader can take care of your lawn and nature, lawn and property, because it's your nature and our nurture. Spring cleanup just around the corner. Also, time to start making your summertime plans for your summertime projects. In fact, don't wait too long on that. Sprinkler systems are going to be opened up soon as well. Reader takes care of my property, and I'm sure they will do a wonderful job for you as well. Check them out online at readerlandscaping.com. That's readerlandscaping.com. While you are online, of course, my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com, and the website for Killer Food Plots, which is killerfoodplots.com. Killerfoodplots.com, the man behind Killer Food Plots, Nick Percy. And Nick, I got to tell you, I'm so excited about this new retail place for you in Muskegon. Congrats on that again.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. We're excited about it as well. We've got some work there to do and got to resurrect the building a little bit in some ways, but it's a really cool place. So it's kind of got that old hardware farm and garden feel on the inside, and that's definitely something that is, I think, a draw for many people in that area.
And I'm wording this very carefully, but isn't there some other project you guys are involved in right now too? Some other venture or something I'm getting some wind of?
Well, we sell 360 hunting blinds.
That's the one I'm thinking of, yes.
Yeah. Sorry, I guess we've never spoken about that.
We haven't, no.
We are one of the 360 hunting blind dealers in Michigan. All the information on those is available on our website. We stock those and are currently in our Coopersville warehouse, and we'll have them in our Muskegon location. We do everything from assemble them, deliver them, and set them up. Those are different services that we offer. Or you can swing through and pick one up and get a great deal and a really solid blind. I'm not a blind guy, Mike, by nature.
Oh, no, you can't sit in a blind. I know that. There's no way your personality is going to let you sit in a blind.
But I will tell you, I sat in the 360 Pro in Kansas a few years ago, and I thought, wow, this is about as close as you can come to sitting in a tree stand with full view all the way around. It has long bow hunting windows, and I actually fell in love with it, so I called about buying one, and they didn't have a dealer in our area, and so I signed myself up because, I've got about 5 extra free minutes in my day, but I figure it's a perfect fit for the clients that I have. They're constantly asking me for, what products to use and what products to buy and what would I recommend and those type of things. And it's definitely the 360 is a blind that I can recommend to anybody. It's a solid product, and you can get in there with a couple of kids as an adult, full-grown man. You could sit in there with your buddy with a tripod and a camera, or your wife or your best friend. They really give you a lot of space. And now they have a new 7x7 blind which is, considerably larger even than that 6x6 that they previously offered.
Yeah, a lot of things going on in killer food plots. Let's go back to food plots for a second here. Well, for the rest of the conversation. Back to the basics. How big does a food plot have to be? What's the smallest that we should consider putting into a food plot? I mean, you can't put a 10 by 10 space into a food plot. So what are we looking at?
Well, I mean, ideally, if you could do like an 1/8 of an acre spot, which is manageable even with hand tools, a rake, raking off the debris on the top of the soil, taking a soil test, sending it into our lab, then we'll actually give you those results back 24 to 48 hours after they hit the door at our lab. You'll have them back in your email. We can jump on the phone with you and help explain what you need to do to the soil. And getting the right thing planted in the soil conditions you have today as you're correcting them or amending them and get you that immediate success. So a smaller food plot, yes, it can be eaten off by, a handful of deer fairly quickly. But if you plant the right thing, the deer can handle that pressure. And we're actually currently working on our second year, so that in our third year we can launch a new product that you'll be able to apply and spray onto your food plots that keep deer off of it for a month or even longer, and it's been proven to be very effective. So as the new plants are popping out of the ground, Mike, we're able to spray them and keep those deer from just nipping them off. So I think that's going to help a lot of our customers and those here in the state of Michigan, because we do have pretty high deer density numbers in certain areas, and it's difficult to get a food plot to even get more than a couple inches out of the ground.
What about the shape of the plot? Is that a factor at all?
Yeah, absolutely. So I prefer to have kind of a kidney shape or a boomerang shaped food plot versus just a straight rectangle or square. And the reason for that is that it forces bucks to travel kind of around the corner to be able to get visibility of that food plot. Also why we use screening products that force our bucks and does out into the food plots to look, especially our bucks that are searching for does and or wanting to make scrapes in those food plots, in those socializing areas. We create our screening around the perimeter that allows them no visibility unless they commit to the food plot, which gives our hunters a much better opportunity to harvest the deer that they're looking for.
And is a person better off to put in a series of smaller plots, or should you put in one big food plot?
I believe that smaller plots are more productive, give you more options for wind conditions, weather conditions, accessibility, depending on, sometimes we get hung up at work and we're not able to get back to the spot, to that one big food plot area. Plus, depends on if you're a bow hunter or a gun hunter and what time of year you're going to hunt it. So being able to reach out and shoot a deer on a large food plot that might be on the other side of the plot. Again, also why we use our killer food plot maze to bring the deer side to side to the food plot to give us those opportunities. But a smaller food plots give you more flexibility, more options, and then they allow you to hunt with your buddies and or more of your family members on a piece of property when you have small plots.
Is your theory you should be able to shoot the entire food plot, say if you're bow hunting? Do you want to reach all sides of it with your bow?
No, I don't. So on a larger food plot area, like I said, what we do is we wrap the perimeter with our Border Patrol or our smoke screening, which gets about 8 to 10 foot tall here in Michigan. And then we put in teed off walls. So think about if the deer would be walking, because this is how it is, right? We go down and to the left and they go up and to the right and they walk, say, 80 yards across the field on the other side. Well, what we do is we put a teed off wall on the other side that forces them, in order to come around that wall, they have to come completely to our side of the field to go around that wall. And consequently, there's a teed off wall, then down from us another 20 to 40 yards that is teed off on our side that forces them back to the other side of the field. And those extra steps keep the deer on your property longer, and they allow you to bring the deer to you, depending on where your stand location is, based on hunting the wind and accessibility.
Nick, every time we talk, you come back to soil sample. That's the basic building block of it all, it seems to me.
It absolutely is, Mike. If you test your soil, it would be the best $22 you ever spend. And the reason for that is that it establishes that blueprint of what's going on in your soil today. If you lime is cheap. In fact, it's on sale right now at Family Farm and Home, and I think Tractor Supply is probably matching that right now for like $3.33 or something a bag. Get out there. It's cheap. Fix your pH levels. Put the right fertilizer down with the Grow Organics, and then let's put the right seed in the ground to give you immediate success in growth and to start replenishing and rebuilding the body of your deer so that they create the habit of coming through your property this spring and summer.
And what's the process? I know this is a little kind of basic, but we have people listening to us who are not in it at the level you are, people who want to get started in food plots. So let's go right to the basics. How do you take a soil sample, Nick? It seems like a dumb question, but I'm not sure I would know how to do it these days.
Okay. Well, it is a very simple process. You need just a simple shovel. A small bucket, if you have one, is ideal. And the reason for that is that we want to go down about 3 to 5 inches down in the soil. We want to turn that soil over. And then about the size or amount of what you would scoop with a little hand garden shovel, like a little potting shovel. You don't have to have that, but that amount of soil, you want to scoop it up with either your bigger spade or a small shovel, throw it in a bucket, flip that back over, and do that about 6 to 10 times throughout your food plot, depending on how big it is. The bigger the food plot, the more samples you want to take from random areas, putting them in the bucket, mix them all together, and then using one of our killer food plot soil sample kits that you can either buy on the website or some of our dealers do carry them and or will be carrying them. You want to take that envelope, fill out your name, the field ID, so that can be 1, 2, 3, 4, ABC, or, if you have a name for your big beach or Remington stand or whatever you call it, put that name on the actual soil collection envelope, and then the account number, which is on our form that you're going to fill out as well. Fill that envelope to the top, tamp it down on a hard surface so the soil settles. Make sure you fill at least to that minimum, that red line that says minimum fill line. Close the Ziploc, put a piece of tape on it. Filling out the form, you want to make sure you put that same field ID from the collection packet on the form. There's a little gray box that'll ask you that question. Then you fill out your name and address and information. Your email is critical if you want to get the results in 24 to 48 hours. Make sure you include a good, accurate, legible email. And then check whether you're maintaining existing food plot or you're establishing a new one. And then whichever killer food plot seed blend that you think you might want to plant in that area that you'd like to, whether it's our Resurrection Clover or it's our Carnage Brassicas. If you're not sure, mark all 11 of them. We'll give you a soil sample correction for every single product we offer. And then what you want to do is fold that form up with the soil sample in the bag, put it in a USPS, like the beta size or VHS size box, send it into our lab. We will get that in there, again, within the day that it arrives. By the next morning, you should have your results, or the following day, depending on if it's a weekend, you should have the results in your email. And then from that, we're going to tell you, is your soil very low in something? Is it low? Is it medium? Is it optimum? Is it high or very high? So it's very simple to read where your levels are. And then in the bottom of the form, it's going to tell you soil fertility recommendations. That's going to tell you how many pounds of exactly what you need to add, how many pounds of lime and how many pounds of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potash that you need to add to the soil. And then if people have further questions, they can just call us or reach out or email us, and then we can set up a time and do a 15 or 20-minute phone consultation and walk them through the process.
And Nick, if folks want to take this to a higher level, I would encourage them to check out the Killer Food Plots podcast, because there we can go a little bit more in depth. I think that's a good suggestion.
Absolutely. Yep, that would be great.
All right, and that podcast can be found at the website killerfoodplots.com. I also have it on my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. All right, Nick, listen, I'll talk with you again soon. Congrats on all the success, and I'll look forward to our next conversation.
All right. Hey, thanks a lot, Mike. Looking forward to it. You going to call me around 1?
Yes, I will. Nick Percy of Killer Food Plots, killerfoodplots.com. We're making plans for the next podcast already. When we come back, we're checking in with our friends from MUCC right here on Outdoor Magazine. Oh, that's all right. That's fine. Doing a little last-minute juggling here. I thought we were talking to Nick I have Amy's number here. Let me find it for you. We're doing a little dancing on air here. Amy, there we go. That's the number you want to call there, Pat. Oh, you touched my phone. There could be germs on my phone. You don't want to touch my phone. All right, he's calling. Anyway, welcome back to Outdoor Magazine. My name is Mike Avery. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Flint on Super Talk 1570 WWCK. You can hear us in Holland on WHTC AM and FM 1450 AM 99.7 FM. And you can hear us in Manistee on WMLQ. That's 97.7 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by the Linwood Beach Marina. Linwood Beach can be your year-round Saginaw Bay fishing destination and your Mid-Michigan Tracker and Angler Quest headquarters. Check them out online at linwoodbeachmarina.com. That's linwoodbeachmarina.com. I talked with the guys at Linwood Beach just the other day. I said, hey, pretty soon I'm going to be wanting that Angler Quest out on the water. They said, when? I said, early April. They said, we can make it happen. I said, that's why I love working with you guys, linwoodbeachmarina.com. Also love working with the folks from MUCC, Michigan United Conservation Clubs. Amy Trotter is the executive director of MUCC, joins us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Amy, welcome back.
Thanks, Mike.
I got to ask, how are things going there in Lansing? But is anybody even there in the offices?
Well, it's certainly quieter than normal. We are still doing the business of conservation, though, of course. But right now, that just means canceling and rescheduling a lot of meetings, and hopefully, making plans here for camp and everything else that we are going to be still doing in the summer, provided everything gets back on track. But of course, we are the situation is constantly evolving, and we're very fluid and nimble. So we're just trying to take it day by day.
Nimble. That's one of the advantages of being a lean organization. I mean, you're a big organization, but you're a lean organization. So I think you can respond to things and situations pretty quickly, Amy.
Yeah, that is true. We have a great staff here. They're young, they're energetic, and thankfully right now all healthy. So they are working in the office or remotely, but we're just trying to make sure our communication lines stay open for everyone.
Anything happening in the news at all? I know the NRC curtailed their scheduled March meeting, right?
Well, yes, it's interesting. It's actually state law that they meet monthly. So one unlucky commissioner drew the short straw, and they will be presiding over what is likely to be an empty room. They will not have quorum or have presentations or be able to take any action, but they do have to be available for public comment in case anyone didn't get the message. So we'll see how that unfolds, but certainly we would not expect that anyone is probably going to be attending any public meetings here this week for sure. So it will be interesting to see. This is really unprecedented and kind of begs the question as to why there's a mandate with no emergency clause at all in the state statute, but they are following the Open Meetings Act accordingly.
And with everything going on, can we assume it's a low priority for the governor's office to come up with two new Natural Resource Commission appointees? Or is that something that has to be done by statute or by law in a timely manner?
No, there is no requirement in order to, have basically a full slate of commissioners, provided that they have a meeting again in April. They have 5 appointed commissioners, and they can take action with just that slate of commissioners. Certainly we hope that she still is going to go about the day-to-day business of governance here, but, first things first, and certainly organizing state government in the face of a pandemic takes priority for everything.
I see you've been reaching out to Lake Erie anglers, but to be honest with you, I haven't seen the details on that. What's that all about?
We are actually working with a professor at MSU to see about how the harmful algal blooms in Lake Erie are actually impacting the fishing and fisheries in Lake Erie. So what we're trying to really ascertain is take our big economic study that we released a year or so ago, the $11.2 billion that we talk about, $2.3 billion for fishing, and go down to a very small regional level and see what that economic impact, if we can extrapolate any changes that the harmful algal blooms have had on the fishing activity and the charter activity and all of that out of Lake Erie.
Well, and speaking of economic impact, hopefully, they're telling us to be social distancing. Well, those of us who love to hunt, fish, and shoot and trap, we're pretty good at social distancing.
As I've been saying all week, the outdoors is the healthiest place to be. Thankfully.
Absolutely. Amy, listen, I appreciate your time. I know you're very busy and short-staffed, so I'll let you get on with your day. Always a pleasure. MUCC.org, MUCC.org. By the way, if you want to save 25% on your MUCC membership, go to the website, MUCC.org, and use the promo code Mike, M-I-K-E. I don't know what Mike it is. I think I know. MIKE, and you can save 25% on your MUCC membership. What a great deal. We will take a break here. When we come back, this week's Ask Avery segment, we're talking about see-through blinds. Are they the real deal? I have some experience in them, and we'll talk about what I recommend there in this week's Ask Avery segment. Coming up after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Caro on WKYO. That's 1360 AM. You can hear us in Houghton Lake on two stations, actually. The Twister, 92.1 WTWS, and our powerhouse station, Blowtorch of a station, 98.5 WUPS. The Ask Avery segment is brought to you by Security Credit Union. Security Credit Union loves to work with outdoorsmen and women, and they can help you with your next outdoor adventure. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. The way this Ask Avery segment works is each week here on the show, I give you the opportunity to help me program the show. What is it you want to know about? Is it something you want to ask me directly, or is it a question you want to give to me to pose to somebody that maybe you don't have access to, somebody in the DNR or a topic like that? And you can get those questions to me via email, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. Or just about anyway. I mean, you can send me a private message on Facebook. You can post them publicly on Facebook, publicly on any social media outlet where I am, and I will see the question and I will follow up. This week, the question comes from Randall Waits, and he happened to post it on the Mike Avery Outdoors Facebook page. Randall says, Mike, my wife and I are thinking about the Primos 360 blind. Have you found it to be okay and no bright sunny days giving away your presence? I first started using these new Primos Double Bull see-through blinds last year for turkey season and absolutely fell in love with them. I like them so much, I bought myself the 180, the 270, and the 360. The 180 is the smallest one, the 270 the medium, and the 360 is the big one. I think these things are the real deal. Now, they are pricey. You know, I mean, I didn't get a discount. I mean, I bought these things, and I liked them so much, I paid the long dollar and bought them, and they're also very, very heavy, typical double bull quality, which means I think they're going to last for a long time. I'm down to one of the blinds now, just my 270, because I actually gave away the 360 and the 180, but that's not because I didn't like them, but because I just thought that somebody should have them other than me. And I will buy some more. I will buy more see-through blinds this spring. But the question is, the way they're designed to work is you sit in the blind and you can see out, but the critters can't see in. And basically, they are very effective for that. Think about one of the downsides of a blind. I love ground blind hunting. It protects you from the elements. It lets you get away with more movement. I can sit in a ground blind for hours and hours. Doesn't bother me at all. I like it. But one of the downsides is when you're sitting in most portable pop-up ground blinds is your lack of visibility. You've got windows you're looking through, but you can't see everything. So oftentimes critters, whether it's turkeys, deer, or bear, are going to sneak up on you. And by the time they're right in front of you, boom, you're surprised. The theory with the see-through blinds is you can see out, the critters can't see in, and you can see them coming from any direction and get ready for them. And I think they work very well at that. Now, if you get certain conditions where the sun's shining in on a very bright day, can you be somewhat visible from the outside? Absolutely, you can. So what I try to do is set up my blinds with that in mind. If I can put them in the shade, put them under a tree to shield myself, to silhouette myself, I do that. Also, you want to make sure you've got something behind you. Now, the two small, the blinds, if I remember right, all come with a panel behind you. So you want to sit in front of that black panel so you're not skylighted from the back. What I do as well is if I do find myself with sunlight coming through on a sunny day, obviously it's a sunny day if sunlight is coming through, I routinely carry like a big black sweatshirt with me or something, and I will wedge that up into the blind, into the support tubes of the blind, and block that sunlight so it hides me. I really like them. I really think they're the real deal. Now, I talked about the expense of the Primos double bull blinds. They are expensive, although I suspect they've come down in price now that they have competitors. All of the major blind manufacturers are now offering a comparable version. Muddy makes one, Rhino makes one, and Baronet makes one. I checked with Bill Hahn at Jay Sporting Goods, who does the buying for this category. He says they're all comparable. He says the visibility is about as good on the newcomers as it is the Primos, maybe not quite as nice. He says the material has less of a sheen. They're lighter weight material, doesn't feel quite as durable, but they're coming in cheaper. Not cheaper build, but cheaper prices. So that's something I'm going to take a look at. If I can get the benefits of a see-through blind and spend a few bucks less, I'm going to take a serious look at it. And Baronet, I have no business relationship with Baronet at all, but I can tell you, I think they are some of the best blinds I've ever hunted out of, the old-fashioned blinds, at very, very reasonable prices. They're putting out a good product at a very, very good price. So Randall, thank you for the question. I hope that answers your question. Yes, I am a firm believer in these, and there's certain situations you can be seen, but there are ways around it. So I think they are a very good option for turkey hunting, deer hunting, bear hunting, or anything else. And thank you again to the folks at Security Credit Union for helping to sponsor this week's Ask Avery segment, securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. If you want to send me a question for Ask Avery, send me an email, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. Hit me up on any of the social media outlets and pose your question to me, or give me a question that you would like me to pass along to somebody else. We've had those in the past as well. We will take a break for the top of the hour. When we come back, Tom Lounsbury, noted outdoor writer and just all-around great guy, very knowledgeable in the outdoors. He will be joining us. And, of course, wild game chef extraordinaire, Dave Miner. That's coming up at hour number 3 of this week's Outdoor Magazine.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Yider Insurance Group, Forward Corporation and T.R. McTaggart, Angler Quest Boats, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Indeed, this is the big guy, Mike Avery. Welcome to hour number 3 of this week's Outdoor Magazine show right here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network. So glad to have you along with us. Glad to be talking about the outdoors, hunting and fishing and shooting and trapping and all things that we can still do. We can get outdoors. We can get away from people. They talk about social distancing. Well, we, as outdoorsmen and women, we're pretty good at social distancing. We've got that part down, right? So why not get out in the river these days, do a little fishing, get out in the woods, look for some sheds, maybe do some preseason turkey scouting. just get outdoors, get some fresh air, get some exercise, keep your body in shape, keep your mind nice and clear. We have the answer to that part of it, don't we? Those of us who love the outdoors, we got that part of it figured out. A friend of mine, a guy I've known for a long time, he's got a lot of things figured out. He's a guy who I have just so much respect for. His name is Tom Lounsbury, and you have heard him here on the show many times. I've known Tom, since we were both a lot younger. And it's always a pleasure to have him on. Pat, let's bring him on right now, in fact. Tom, welcome to the show. How have you been?
Good. I've been enjoying the March weather and everything, and you bring up a point about social distancing. Fresh air does a whole lot for you with what's going on, let me tell you.
It does, physically and mentally as well, I think, Tom.
Yes, definitely. Well, I've been, for the last couple of years, they extended the squirrel season. It used to end March 1st, but now it goes to the 31st of March. And I got friends that have squirrel dogs. I have squirrel dogs, and we're having a blast whenever we get a chance. And March, that last month is just a fabulous time to be out after squirrels and getting out there. And you mentioned sheds. By golly, when you're out there doing the squirrel hunting, that gives you a chance to find a few sheds, too.
I am really happy that they extended that squirrel season, and a lot of people are taking advantage of that. I had a guy post a picture on my Facebook page the other day. He was out there with a 22, it was a Ruger or something, a handgun, and he was using a squirrel call, and he had 5 nice fat squirrels. I didn't know you could call squirrels, Tom.
Oh yeah, that can really get them going. There's different, calls and that. I've gotten into using the squirrel dogs for, the action out there and treeing the squirrels. And a great thing to take kids out if you got kids along, and a lot of action involved in it, and the dog's going after it. And that's just my favorite pastime this time of year.
And who would have thought? I mean, it used to be the fall was everything for dog hunters. Now to open up these opportunities in the spring, that's pretty cool.
Oh, it absolutely is. And then, oh my goodness, the fishing opportunities that we have. Our state of Michigan, I feel blessed that, I live in this state, the outdoor opportunities that are out there, and I'm just in literal heaven. I love my thumb area, what we have here, and pretty soon it's going to be after suckers and you name it, and just looking forward to it.
Well, and you talk about the thumb. You are so strongly connected and figuratively, almost literally rooted in that area. I mean, I'm talking to you right now on your family farm, and it's what, 3rd generation family farm, fourth generation?
Fourth generation,
oh, my
family
goodness.
farm, and I got most of it into CRP, prairie grasslands, and shelter belts, and living the dream. Really, I can walk out my door and it's right there.
I think that oftentimes the thumb gets overlooked. Not you local guys. You know it's a gem. You know it's a secret. But I think a lot of times when you look at the parts of our state where people can go to recreate outdoors, I think the thumb often gets overlooked.
Oh, yeah. I got a kick out of the one bear hunter that I went hunting with up in the UP, and when he saw me, he obviously had a lot of clients out of the thumb. He went, another thumbkin. Well, I kind of like that. You got your Yoopers, you got your thumbkins, and bless them, everybody else is Michiganders. So.
and do you think it is with the thumb there? Is it because there's no major highway system, no I-75 or 131 that runs out there? Is that
definitely.
Part of it?
It's really very similar to like when you get over like to Rogers City and that, where there's just no major access to it. But we got a lot to offer here, the fishing and you name it. I am looking forward to the turkey season this spring. In fact,
am I.
I'm going to try something new. I did take a turkey last fall. I had a 410 with me for squirrel hunting, and I managed to take a fall turkey with that 410, a 20-yard shot. And Federal just brought out a brand new 410 turkey load about a year ago. and it's got tungsten in it, and supposedly it's supposed to be able to take a turkey at 40 yards. But I want to see how it patterns with my Thompson Center handgun, my Contender, with a 410, and see. I'm just dying to give that a whirl and pattern that out.
I am very excited about that as well. We've been talking about it here on the show for the last few weeks. Glenn Duncan at Duncan's Outdoor Shop in Bay City says it's the real deal. And I was talking to the guys up at Jay's Sporting Goods, and they swear by it as well. So it does seem like it's going to create some exciting options for turkey hunters.
Oh, yeah. It puts the 410 right on the map. They're claiming 40-yard shots. I have for my Contender, if I'm not happy with how that 10-inch barrel is going to pattern the load, I also can switch it over, put the rifle stock on, and I got a 410 vent rib 410 barrel. I may go that route. They also, believe it or not, offer 410 turkey chokes.
Yes. You love that Contender, don't you?
And I think that's great, especially for kids. Well, you and I both know what it's like to fire a turkey load off a shooting bench when you pattern. It'll just pound you pretty good.
You love that Contender platform, don't you?
Oh, I absolutely love it. I got several barrels. I can just switch over just in a matter of minutes, and it does the trick. And that's my primary hunting arm when I'm out with the squirrel dogs. I just love that Contender pistol for that. Plus rabbits, and hey, rabbit season. Hey, that's still going too. That's another thing for people to be looking at, and so forth.
Do you feel limited by only having that single shot of that Contender? Have there been many situations where you thought, man, if I had that second shot, I could have got that critter?
Oh, that's a wonderful excuse I always love to use when I miss. So, yes, there have been times, but actually that first shot's the one that counts. I've taken deer with it, and I've never felt what you would call undergun using a single shot. And if I don't make that shot count, well, that's the name of the game. But, certainly there's all those times I've said, if I only had one more shot. I remember one time I had a single shot 12 gauge, and I missed this rooster flying over me. And while I got the gun broke open trying to load it, 3 more flew over my head. So go figure.
Tom, I didn't think you ever missed a bird in the air.
Oh, it sure can happen, especially the older I get. I found out the older I get, the more I got to practice. So it's time doesn't always help you in a lot of ways.
Well, that's for sure. This is my first season with my recurve bow after my cataract surgery, so I got to figure out how to look at that whole situation. So yeah,
you betcha.
It does catch up with you, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's called those golden years, getting into there and changing, and so far I haven't had the cataract issue. I am looking at getting a new knee pretty soon. That finally wore out on me, but
that's actually very exciting, Tom. I'm telling you, I've had, listen, now we are just turning off anybody under 50 who's listening to us right now. But I've had both knees done, and I'll tell you, it changes your life. You can get around so much easier.
Oh, I should have done this probably a year ago, but when I realized I was really having issues, it was too close to hunting season, and I should have had it done anyway because, man, I don't know if you want to call it hobbling or waddling. That's what I did through the hunting season, so I'm ready for a refit. I call it getting a refit, so...
Well, good for you. I'm excited. You'll feel so much better after that. Hey, listen, you brought up a topic I want to follow up on, and we're not going to be able to talk in depth about it right now. So I'm going to let you get started, and I'm going to cut you off, and we'll come back to it. But the concept of patterning a shotgun often gets overlooked, but it's critical for turkey hunting.
Absolutely, very critical.
Let's call it that. Good right there. Listen, we'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. We're talking with Tom Lounsbury. The topic I want to come back to after the break is patterning a shotgun. How do you actually do that? We've talked about that here on the Outdoor Magazine Show the last couple of weeks, as well as the concept of using a 410 for turkey hunting, which I think is very, very exciting. You know me, though. I'm going to be out there this spring turkey hunting with my Predator recurve bow. Like Tom says, you got to give yourself some challenges. You got to give yourself some limitations. Well, a 410 single shot or a recurve bow, you're not putting the odds in your favor, but isn't that part of the fun? Isn't that part of the challenge? And I got to be honest, you get to a point in your life where the kill is not that critical. When you're a young person, you go through these different stages. You know, I'm going to save this topic. I'm going to talk about it later here in the show. Make myself a note. Stages of hunting. All right, we'll take a break here at the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, we'll talk more about turkey patterning, turkey hunting, and all things outdoors in the springtime with Tom Lounsbury right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in Iron Mountain on WMIQ. That's 1450 AM. You can hear us in Ludington on News 97.98, 98.7 WLDN. And let's stay on that side of the state, shall we? Let's go just down the road to Muskegon, WKBZ 1090 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Wilds Plumbing and Heating. From plumbing, heating, air conditioning, sump pumps, ductwork cleaning, you name it, the folks from Wilds can help you out. When I look at the different projects they've done for me over the years at 2 different houses now, it's pretty thorough. It encompasses just about everything. I invite them into my home. I know they will do a good job, and so I can recommend you do the same without hesitation. Check them out online at wildsplumbingandheating.com. That's wildsplumbingandheating.com. And when they come out to the house, a lot of the guys are going to be willing to talk hunting and fishing too. So you got that going for them. Wildsplumbingandheating.com. Right now, we're talking with a guy who has no website. He has no social media presence, and he enjoys it that way. His name is Tom Lounsbury, noted outdoor writer and outdoor expert from the Thumb. You, my friend, are probably the ultimate master in social distancing.
Absolutely. Even when I'm in the woods. So, yeah, especially when we start getting into this computer stuff, that's not my cup of tea at all.
Mm. Well, what is your cup of tea is guns, hunting, shooting, and fishing. And we were talking about patterning a shotgun before the break. I want to follow up on that. Walk us through that process. How do we do it?
Well, first of all, I like to have what I call a patterning board, and I get these big sections of I don't want to call it. Well, I actually use cardboard if I have it on hand, and that's what I put the turkey targets on. And those turkey targets that we have today are phenomenal. You even get the ones that have the splatter and whatever. But I start really at 10 yards with a load, just to make sure that point of aim is right where I want it, and then I start taking it out at 5 to 10 yard increments. Typically, once you get to about 30 yards, that's when you start seeing whether or not your gun has, the makings of a turkey gun. And they're talking with some of these loads today going, out to even 60 yards. I never do that. I like to call my birds into 30 yards or less, but the potential's there. But when you're patterning, you'll find out sometimes what your bead and everything might be a little out of round. You'll start noticing that your pattern is starting to group off to the left or right, and that's when you might have to make some corrections. A lot of times what solves if there's an issue with a gun is putting like a red dot sight on the rib or so forth. But typically it's not bad, minimum, to have at least twin beads so you're lining up stuff. I had a turkey come in one time, and I only had one bead, which I still do, just one bead. But you got to make sure you have the perfect meld with your gun, your cheek to the stock and everything. But anyway, this turkey caught me out in the open. I'm laying on the ground. He comes in. I think I could have almost hit him with the gun with like a club, but I shot right over his head because I didn't have the perfect meld with the gun. And these turkey chokes, let me tell you, they're easy to miss a bird with. They're that tight.
Well, turkeys are very good at surprising you. They're masters at that. And if the bird was that close, your shot pattern was pretty tight. I mean, you didn't have a lot of room for error at that distance, did you?
no room for error. I also practice, and I've taken deer the same way. I practice switch hitting. I practice. Now, I don't always use turkey loads to do it because that can be kind of expensive, but I practice shooting milk jugs at set ranges and switching from right to left hand. And I found out when I go to the left, I'm right-handed with a dominant right eye. All I have to do when I go left-handed is I partially close my dominant eye, and the left eye takes over, and I've taken turkeys and deer doing that. It really, well, let's face it, when a turkey moves in on you and you're right-handed and he comes in on the right side, oh my, you got your hands full if you don't know how to slowly switch it.
Well, and you know what? That's good advice for everything. Deer hunting, turkey hunting, even bow hunting. I mean, it's not inconceivable. You could pull a right-handed bow with your left hand if you had done it and practiced at it.
Well, I've never been able to attempt that part, but it certainly works with a crossbow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And you love those crossbows, don't you?
Oh, since my shoulder started going to heck, it works for me, and I love darting crossbows. That's all I ever used is darting. I like made in Michigan, quite frankly.
So do I.
Anyway, one of these times I'm going to take a turkey with a crossbow. I did try it with a compound before, but it's amazing, what you can do with a shotgun. You sure can't put an arrow through sometimes when you're looking at all the brush and stuff.
I've taken several turkeys with archery gear. In fact, you might have heard me say this year I'm going to try to do it with a recurve. But the way I do it is I could never run and gun. I could never run and gun with even a crossbow. What I do is I set up and I do an ambush, a lot like a deer hunt. I'll set up in a portable pop-up blind. I'll put the decoys out in front of me. I'll call for a little bit and just wait. But as far as running and gunning, there's no way I could do it with a crossbow even. Nope.
Oh, no. Crossbows, to me, are for a static position.
Yeah.
There's been a couple times. I'll never forget the time I went into a cornfield, thought I'd use the crossbow doing what I call corn stalking. Oh, my. It's okay to do it with a traditional or, conventional bow, but, boy, a crossbow is not made, at least the one I had, wasn't made for going into a cornfield.
Too wide for the rows? Is that what it was?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was just too cumbersome. And by the way, what kind of recurve do you have?
Michigan-made Predator recurve from Hunter's Niche up in Tawas.
Oh, my goodness. What kind of arrows are you using?
I'm using the East. Well, see, I didn't go old school there. I mean, I'm shooting a recurve, but I'm not shooting flint-tipped arrows with wooden shafts, cedar shafts.
I hear you.
I'm using the Easton. The composite with the aluminum and the graphite. I can't think of the name of them right now. Like the double.
I know which one you mean.
Yeah.
That's a darn fine arrow.
Well, I tell you what, I didn't know what to expect because the only thing I'd ever killed with a recurve was a turkey several years ago, and I went bear hunting in Ontario last August. And Tom, I'm telling you, I made a pretty good shot on a bear, a decent-sized bear, about 265-pound sow.
Beautiful bear.
She went 30 yards. I mean, and this is a low-poundage recurve bow. I was just so impressed with what traditional gear can do if you make the right shot.
Oh, yeah, and a nice, sharp cutting edge. When it comes to bears, I found out that, a nice, sharp broadhead is deadly on bears. In fact, you even get a better blood trail than you do with bullets.
Don't you just love bear hunting, too?
Oh, I live for it. I'm buying my points. I'm looking forward to do another UP bear hunt there. But, boy, going to Ontario, have mercy.
Well, I'm going to go back to Ontario. I'm actually supposed to do a spring hunt in Quebec. I don't know now with the situation the way it is if that's going to happen or not. But, man, I tell you what, if you gave me turkeys, walleye, and bears, I'd be pretty happy. I wouldn't need anything else. Now, you would need your pheasants. I know that.
Oh, yeah. Well, make sure you take your thermocell for spring bear hunting. I have never done a spring bear hunt, but I've talked to guys that did, and the best hunting is when the black flies and mosquitoes are going crazy.
And I have never had a bear spook from a thermocell. I've had them walk downwind through the thermocell smoke, and it didn't bother them.
Oh, yeah. And Thermacell actually has scented wafers, like earth scent and so forth that you can use. But I've never worried about it.
That's one of those products when I first heard about it. Some guys, in fact, it was the guys from Hunter Safety System. They were telling me about it. I said, guys, it sounds like a gimmick. But because I trust those guys, because they're good guys, I gave it a try, and I can't believe how well they work, Tom.
Oh yeah. Well, that's like I love the turkey season, and I love the fact that you got the whole month of May for 234, and I like that May hunting. But I'll tell you, there's times if I wouldn't have had my Thermacell, when you start getting into turkey woods in May, that's when the mosquitoes start really coming out.
Oh, boy. Hey, did you see what they did, too? What do you think of this? That all of our Michigan turkey seasons start on a Saturday this year, and ZZ, Southern Michigan Private Land, goes through mid-April, right on through the end of the mosquito season, right on through the end of May.
I think it's fabulous. If it wasn't for my knee surgery, I would probably go for the ZZ. But the thing I like about the 234 is that I not only can use it here, but I enjoy going up by Atlanta and so forth, turkey, those rolling hills there to go turkey hunting. So that way I got the whole state if I need it with that 234.
Good point.
And you get it right over the counter. And but ZZ, what a fabulous idea! That is just, I think, outstanding.
Now, let me think here. You're going to be just recovering from your surgery. You're not going to be doing a lot of running and gunning. You're going to be doing more sitting and ambushing, I think.
I think I'm going to be doing a bunch of ambushing, sitting in a blind, and so forth. We'll just have to see. But I'm ready for this. I know I need a refit, so to speak, and for any of those listeners there that are over 50, trust me, it may catch up to you sooner or later.
Well, and they always told me, oh, you'll know when it's time. Oh yeah, you know when it's time, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I can see that. But again, people with this coronavirus out there, you're out in the outdoors. You can't find a better place to do it. There's all kinds of things to do right now. Like I'm really into the squirrel hunting thing. I'm going to be doing some rabbit hunting. I can't wait for the fishing to get started. And with the suckers, springtime suckers. Whether I'm using long line or spearing them, and there's a family that I go with. Typically every year they use the big dip nets and so forth. So, a whole lot to do this time of year, and to be penned up indoors. Oh, no way.
That's what I say. We're the masters at social distancing, and you are one of the best out there. Tom, listen, good luck on your surgery. I will look forward to talking with you soon. And hopefully you'll get a chance to get out and enjoy all these wonderful things our state has to offer. I appreciate it, my friend.
That, Mike, and you got to try squirrel hunting with dogs with me sometime.
It's one of those things I'm fascinated by. It's one of those things I think looks like an awful lot of fun. So, yes, I would love to do that. Tom Lounsbury.
We'll keep that in mind, sir.
All right. I will look forward to that. Checking in from the thumb. I'd send you to the website, but there ain't no website for Tom Lounsbury. And there ain't no social media. He might have an email address. I don't know. I don't have it if there is, but he does have a phone. That's how I get in touch with him. He has a phone. We'll take a break here on the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, I do want to talk about these different stages of our hunting career that I talked about when Tom and I were talking. That's coming up after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in Traverse City on WTCM. That's 580 AM. You can hear us in Tawas on WIOS, AM and FM, 1480 AM, 106.9 FM. And you can hear us on another group of AM, FM sister stations. WSGW AM 790 in Saginaw and WSGW FM 100.5 in Saginaw, our flagship stations. I say flagship with no disrespect, but of course I'm sitting in their studios right now, which Pat Johnston sanitized for me before I came in here, so I'm feeling a certain degree of comfort in here. Pat, I appreciate it. You're doing a wonderful job, as always. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Great Lakes Charter Training. If you've ever wanted to be a licensed captain, now this is a fishing charter captain or a sailing excursion or a towboat or a dive captain, I think this is your best choice. And I have some exciting news this week. I got my paperwork in for my Coast Guard captain's license. I took the class from Captain Mel Stackpool at Great Lakes Charter Training and his guy, John Littlefield, last May. And to be honest, I had been dragging my feet, but it got to the point where I needed to get this paperwork done. I was dragging my feet because the paperwork is very, very, let's just say, extensive. I mean, you're dealing with a government entity, the U.S. Coast Guard, so you would expect it would be a little cumbersome and thorough. And it was frustrating me, but then I got thinking, boy, if you're going to have people licensed out there, you want them to jump through some hoops, and you want them to be vetted, and you want them to be trained in first aid, and you want them to be trained in navigation and such, which is what Captain Mel Stackpool's class at Great Lakes Charter Training does. I'm a big fan. I think they did a wonderful job. I was able to pass my Coast Guard test first time around. I would not have been able to without the training. glctraining.com. That's glctraining.com. They got me ready for this the other night before I emailed my information off to the Coast Guard. I went through everything with John Littlefield, my instructor. He walked me through to make sure everything was up to snuff. If you want to become a charter captain, this is the way to do it. glctraining.com. I always enjoy my conversations with Tom Lounsbury. What an interesting guy. And he is so in tune and in touch with his world, living on the family farm, fourth generation. It's just a very, very interesting guy. But during that conversation, and I apologize, I know that our conversation sounded like two old guys. Probably not the best for demographics for the radio show. But when you look at it, what are the demographics of our hunters? Unfortunately, it's a bunch of old people, primarily old men. Got to work on that, too. But we were talking about how, and I went through this, and most of the guys I talked to have gone through this. When I was a young guy, I never thought I would. When you first start out, hunting or fishing or shooting or trapping, right? Primarily hunting, fishing, or trapping. You want to become good at it. You want to become proficient at it. So you work at it until you can be successful, meaning successful catching fish or shooting critters. And then you go to the next stage, which is, I want to catch as many fish as I can or shoot as many critters as I can. Okay? And then you progress to the next step, which is, I don't care if I don't catch or shoot as many, but I want to catch the biggest or shoot the biggest of each one. You become, I don't want to say a trophy angler or a trophy hunter, but you're much more selective in what you're targeting. And then the stage where, you get a little older and you start to mellow out a little bit, and this is where I'm at. It's like, I really don't care if I catch anything or shoot anything at all. The experience is the experience. That's where I'm at right now. The experience of being out there in the woods or on the water, that is the reward. An occasional fish, an occasional critter, if you're looking for it, is just a bonus. And people who don't hunt or fish, or people who are younger in their outdoor, I call it a career for lack of a better term that I can think of, they don't quite get that. And that's fine. That's fine. Every time I go into the woods now, or every time I go onto the water, I'm bringing my life's experience with me. I'm bringing the experience I've had in the woods or on the water with my dad, with my son, with my grandkids. And that's what makes it all so very special. It's the experience. It's sharing in the experience that has gone on in our state for generations. It's sharing in the experience that in my family has gone on for generations. So whenever I go on the water or in the woods, I am continuing this history and tradition of the outdoor lifestyle that I cherish so much, that I care so deeply about. Although I did get a mandate this year. My wife Denise says, you got to start keeping some of these fish you're catching, because I give them all away, these walleye. I give them all away, or I put them back in. She said, I want some fish, so I got to start keeping some fish. Speaking of my wife, we did cancel our trip. We were going to go. We had a nice, beautiful vacation getaway scheduled. Well, things got in the way. So we'll be here. No disruption in the Outdoor Magazine radio show. You can rest easy. Everything's fine. We're cruising right along. In fact, we've got backup plans if things ever happen. We're good to go. We're going to be here. Just like you're going to be there, we are going to be here as well. We'll take a break here on the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, wild game chef extraordinaire Dave Miner, right here on Outdoor Magazine. Welcome back to Outdoor Magazine. Glad to have you along with us. In the previous segment, I was talking about, hunting and fishing and having the fish or the wild game be just a bonus. But man, what a wonderful bonus it is. And when you get some nice fish or some nice wild game, you want to be able to do the right thing with it. And by that, I don't mean, make a recipe according to some kind of structure. I mean, just do the right thing in treating the animal or the fish with respect and putting something on the table that you're going to be proud of and that your family can really enjoy. And nobody is better at that than wild game chef extraordinaire Dave Miner. David, welcome back.
Hi, Mike. Thank you for the kind words.
Well, Dave, you know what I think about you. You and I have known each other forever, and you're top shelf. And I think it's tough right now with the restaurant business, and you are going through. And my prayers go out to you, my friend.
Thank you. I think I'm going to actually buy a fishing license and get out there and do some fishing.
Well,
try to do a little coyote calling, and I'll have spare time.
Well, social distancing. We know how to social distance as hunters. You know what? Maybe one good thing come from this. Maybe you're finally going to have a minute to get out with me on the bay on the angler quest.
Yeah, that's why I say I'm going to buy a license so I can go with you. When you get out there, let me know.
All right, I will plan on doing that. What do you got in store for us? What do you got in mind for us this week, Dave?
Well, the walleye season, as we know, is coming to an end in the rivers, inland lakes, but let's do a pecan walleye. We've sold that for years and years, and it's just a great dish, and we've had great success with it. So you're going to need about 8 to 10 ounces of boneless, skinless per person. This is going to work much better with the smaller fish, not the big hogs, okay? You're going to use a stronger sauce. This is a very mild and sweeter sauce a little bit. So you can buy pecan meal. It's already ground up, and nicely pulverized. Or you can take and use it on short little blips. You can buy pecans, the pieces, so you don't have to spend the money for the halves. And just give it little blips, blip, until you can get it all nicely fine so you can use this. You need about 3.5 in the jar of chicken gravy. This would be for 4 portions. So 1 to 2 cloves of garlic, small onion diced up fine, some heavy cream, a couple ounces. You're going to use Malibu rum or a coconut rum and Myers tropical rum. It's just a wonderful flavor enhancement. You need some flour, a couple of eggs, and some olive oil. So you're going to dredge the fish in flour. Then in a relatively warm but not hot pan, so you're going to dredge the fish in flour, eggs, and then roll it in the pecan meal. Take some of that off, and like I said, in a pan that's not very hot at all, you're going to brown it on both sides. You have to really watch what you're doing on this. You have to be very diligent and keep an eye on it. So you might have to lift the corner up a little bit of each fillet, and when it starts to get nice and golden brown, flip it over and only go for a little while, and then lay it out on a baking sheet or a casserole, and you're going to put that in the oven while you're doing all of these. So then you're going to wipe the pan out. You don't want this crumbs left from the pecan to burn. You're going to saute the onions and the garlic slowly. Just break the flavor loose, and you add the gravy, the heavy cream. Then you can add the rums, and then so you won't have that big flare up if you don't like. You want to cook this down to about 3/4 of a volume. And it's only going to take 6 to 8 minutes, depending on the thickness of the fish, in the oven at 350 degrees uncovered. So what you'd like to do is you're going to strain this sauce over with a hair fine sieve, put the sauce down on each plate, and then lay the fish on top. You could lay a couple of pecans around the edge, maybe a little parsley, and it would just enhance the flavor and the eye appeal to the point where it's just going to be wonderful. Can't tell you how many hundreds and hundreds of these dishes we've sold over the years.
And it would seem like a good dish for a lot of these bigger fish we're getting right now, like down in St. Clair and Detroit rivers and such. A nice big fillet, I think, would work well for this, wouldn't it, Dave?
No, I don't think so.
No.
Because they're stronger. This, you want the more medium size, the 8 to 10 ounce fillets per person. We can do like the garlic, more heavy garlic and like that for the bigger fish. This, you want the more milder fish, the
Gotcha.
3 to 4 pounders. It would be just ideal, just great for this. So.
Yeah. Well, anything you cook is great, Dave. I've learned that over the years. I've always said, listen, you can go to Dave's and bring an old tennis shoe, send it back in the kitchen, and Dave will cook it up and make it taste great for you.
Filet of sole.
Filet of sole.
Great.
So, listen, are you guys doing any kind of a carry-out or takeout or anything at all?
It's not gonna, we'd have to do 40 or 50 takeouts per day to even make it worth our while. I think we're just going to take a break and ride out the storm, and hopefully, both Terry and I have had open heart surgery, so we're going to do our very best to hide at the cabin and stay away from any way to pick the bug up.
Well, good. I think that seems like a great idea. As long as you'll answer your phone when I'll call you every week, then we'll be good.
I'm going to do my very best. Like I said, I'd like to be on one of your maiden voyages. I'm going to buy a fishing. I'm going to venture out and get a fishing license so I can actually do something.
I promise you, we will make that happen. I promise you.
Okay.
All right, David, we'll talk to you again next week.
Good luck to everybody. I'd like to wish everybody well during this crisis. I hope we can all weather the storm and hope none of us get this horrible bug going around. And those that have to close up for your business, I feel for you.
Wild game chef extraordinaire Dave Miner, a big part of the Outdoor Magazine show, as are you. Appreciate you listening. Send me an email, Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com, and check out the website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com.